All right, we're on. We're on. What is good, ladies and gentlemen? What is good? It's your boy Cheats here, and we are live. We're breaking in as we speak because right now it is the bottom of the ninth. The Phillies have scored 2 runs to cut the Dodgers' lead to 4-3. No outs. Nick Castellanos on second. I want to welcome all of you to a live version. That's right, a live version of the Black Baseball Mixtape podcast. The whole gang is here. We might even have some special guests join us as we go through the program, but it's all happening right now. So before I go too far, I want to thank our partners. Shout out to the Players Alliance. Shout out to Rebellion Harvest Sunflower Seeds. Shout out to Numbers Game Scorecards, Minority Prospects. And this, I will tell you this is not an official sponsor, but we have to give a shout out today to, I got a little gift in the mail today, and I want to thank our good buddy Anthony Manuel and the team over at Fear of God. That's right, Fear of God MLB.
Whoa.
Sent me some cool stuff today, so I really appreciate.
I'm on the team too,
guys.
Cheese. Where's my Fear of God swag?
Shout out to my guy.
This arrangement's not really favorable for me.
Shout out to Jarrett Lorenzo and everybody over at Fear of God. So shout out to all of them. Make sure you check out their MLB Essentials. They're doing some really, really awesome things. So the crowd is going crazy in Philly. April is here. She is sweating this thing out.
Listen.
Stott is facing Vesia is in now. No outs. Runner on second. Flobo boys.
Yo.
Welcome to the playoffs. Welcome to the show, man. How you feeling?
No, I'm feeling really good, man. New episode of In the Booth dropped today with Carissa Hines, fan of the Toronto Blue Jays. And I told at the end of the episode, I have a rule. I don't really buy Major League caps of any team but the Mets. But as you can tell, right now I made an obsession. This is the Strong Bird logo from the early 2000s, the bicep Blue Jays. So just getting a little bit of that because the Blue Jays are killing it. They were the story of the weekend, and I'm just happy to be here.
And we're definitely going to talk about said Blue Jays. While we're doing that, huge play. Stott lays down a bunt. Wonderful play by Muncy. He goes to third. Betts is covering. They get Castellanos. They cut him down. So now there's a runner on first, 1 out. 1 out. And that's Malik, we just talked about this. We just talked about, do you pinch run for Castellanos? You said no. I was leaning yes. Castellano gets cut down at third base on actually a pretty good bunt from Stott, but it was really well played by Muncy. How do you feel today, my brother? Welcome to the program.
Yeah. So just seeing that play just kind of shows like some players can do certain things, like hit, clutch doubles, and some players are better on the bases, and some players are better at defense than others. So Castellanos just made a huge kind of base running error. Well, actually,
he called it an error to sacrifice bunt.
Actually, he just wasn't fast enough. That's all I can say.
He's just slow.
Really good bunt.
He was really not fast enough. Really good bunt and a play.
Really good defensive play. Muncy and Betts did a really good job.
Yeah, they did. Hopefully, Betts is good on that play. But yeah, just trying to stay locked into the playoffs while we're taking a break here in Houston. We're still mourning, the depth of this run, letting Altuve get his foot surgery and whatnot. And all the other players getting their surgeries as well at Memorial Hermann or one of these hospitals down here in Houston, Texas. So just praying for a swift recovery for all these players that are on the mend,
There you go. Hey, so look, shout out to everybody that's joining us live. If you're joining us on Instagram, shout out. I see my guy Randy Wilson in the chat. Cool Athletics in the group for a bit. Hey, shout everybody out. If you have a question for the podcast crew today, make sure you put it in the comments. Make sure you ask. April is living and dying now with every Vesia pitch. Again, it's 1 out, runner on first, and the winning run is at the plate. The tying run's on first. April, how are you holding up? You're up 1-0 in these playoffs.
I don't know how to say this nicely, but for me,
and it's down. Boehner's in, 2 runners on now. Winning run is on first base. There's a runner on second. Sorry. Go ahead, April.
I'm a little upset, and I was just giving Dave his praises. There's only one Blake that belongs on that mound for me, and that's Blake Snell.
He started today and pitched extremely well.
He did, and he's pitched extremely well this postseason, and we see exactly why he's being paid the money that he's paid and gone some very good innings. But this is just, oh my gosh. Yes, I'm very nerve wracking. I mean, I'm in full Dodgers gear right here, went to school, ready for today. And this crowd was silent, and we gave them a momentum. And there it is. I just, but we'll continue.
So now they've pinch run because Bader's hurt, right? Like he's
Yes,
really not.
hamstring.
Yeah, he's got some issues. So now Kepler's up, and Bader's at first, Stott's at second. Vesia is still in. So it's a lefty on lefty matchup here, and no one is sitting down in Citizens Bank Park here. 93 up and strike there on Kepler. Now here's the thing. You gotta avoid the double play, right? You gotta avoid the double play because that ends the game. If Kepler gets on or even strikes out, then you at least have Trey Turner coming up with a chance to win this thing.
And Trey Turner, pretty much, that means that they have gone around this entire lineup because Trey Turner had the single that, yeah.
So Kepler grounds to first base. Freeman gets the out at second. 2 outs. Kepler's on first. I believe it's Wheaton now on third, the pinch runner. Or did they? No, they cut Wheaton down. But who's on third? Excuse me. There's a runner on first and third. 2 outs is what we're looking at. I'm sure this is riveting.
They just cut down Weston Wilson.
Scott is at third.
And Roki Sasaki comes in. I'm sure, ladies and gentlemen, forgive us. I'm sure this is riveting podcast action for anyone that's listening. What we will do is we'll actually cut out our live commentary and actually have our show for those who listen tomorrow. But one of the things I do want to bring up, and I want to ask, I'll start with April since she's been watching really closely. There was an amazing article written today on ESPN.com from Jeff Passan about the reclamation project that was Roki Sasaki and how he is able now to, pitch, get his form back, pitch out of the bullpen, be the Dodgers closer. And this, I did not even know all of this entailed. It obviously entailed him having some injuries, but it also entailed him going back down to the Arizona Complex League and working with the Dodgers pitching gurus from a full, complete restructuring of his mechanics. And that's what helped him get his velocity back. He was down in the low 90s. And now he's back up to 100, doing the things that he needs to do. When you see Sasaki, when you saw kind of how he finished the season and now obviously pitched some ninth innings in the playoffs, April, what do you think about it?
I remember when we had a conversation earlier in the season and one of you asked me how I felt about it. And I was like, I think that our pitching coaches would be able to get him to adjust to where he needed to be. So number one, to see him be willing to go to the bullpen, because we know some players, that's not something that they're willing to do, and not just be willing to go, to have the mindset to be competitive and to be successful in that role. It's just been really wonderful to see, because most people remember Roki Sasaki with the tears in his eyes from the bullpen. But now we get to see this victory part of him just reclaim what he's been put here to ultimately do. So I'm excited to see players who are able to make these kinds of adjustments and be successful at it. And then, of course, it helps the team.
Yeah,
at the right time.
I've been extremely impressed with his stuff. Like when it's come back, I mean, like I said, he's hitting close to 100, upper 90s on his fastball. He's throwing amazing breaking pitches. And he was is it over? Right now, he's facing Trey Turner. Trey Turner up the middle to second base. This game is over. Second base to first. It is 4-3 Sasaki closes it out.
Hmm.
The heartbreak for the Philly fans who are now down 0-2. Let's really get into the playoffs now. Let's really get into this podcast. I want to thank everyone who is joining us live on Instagram. If you have questions for the group, please leave them in the chat. We are now going to reset a little bit, and we are going to start kind of our real podcast that you will hear if you were listening to the podcast tomorrow morning on all audio. So I'm going to do a full hard reset. But thank you for joining us live. Thank you for joining us live, because that was a lot of fun and a lot of emotion. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Monday night. You know what that means. Welcome to the Black Baseball Mixtape Podcast. I am your host, Cheats. The whole gang is here. I want to thank our partners, the Players Alliance, Numbers Game Scorecards, Rebellion Harvest Sunflower Seeds, Minority Prospects. I want to thank them for always supporting the show. If you go to their products, especially with Numbers Game Scorecards and Rebellion Harvest Sunflower Seeds, use the code Black Baseball Mixtape to get a discount and help support the show. Again, I want to thank as well our good buddies over at Fear of God Baseball for sending some wonderful stuff over to me. So shout out to Anthony Manuel and the crew over there, Jarrett Lorenzo and all of them. Make sure you do check out the whole MLB Essentials package on fearofgod.com. So shout out to them as well. Flobo boys, we have just finished, I guess it's Monday night National League Game 2 between the Phillies and the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I want to reset completely because we had 2 games in the divisional series. The Blue Jays are up 2-0. You're wearing that hat.
Yes, sir.
You're wearing that hat. The Blue Jays are up 2-0. The Mariners tied it up late last night, 1-1. So as we look, first and foremost, my brother, always welcome. I know you're feeling good. I know you got some new things in the can. So let us know really quickly what's new, and then let's get your initial reactions to the first games in the divisional playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. In the booth drop today, chatting with Toronto Blue Jays superfan Carissa Hines. That's why I'm wearing the Blue Jays cap today, the Strong Bird, my favorite logo. I decided to cross the line and get my first non-Mets Major League cap. So this is kind of a historic thing. This is history in the making right here, Cheats. But
it's
the
history,
weekend,
my brother.
The weekend's been crazy. I know last week I was kind of on the fence, like, will this be a really big postseason? But the storylines are coming out full throttle the past couple of days. The Dodgers looking pretty strong. The Blue Jays shocking and on the Yankees. It's just been a crazy time so far. And I have no dog in the fight, so I'm enjoying every bit of it.
That's a good question, though. Does this, by you and you not having a hardcore rooting interest, does this make the experience for you better or for worse? I'm looking at April. I'm seeing how she's living and dying with every pitch.
Yeah.
Fans want to do that. But if you're watching the playoffs now without a rooting interest, are you able to kind of step back and see it better, you think?
It's a different kind of vibe. You know what I'm saying? Cocktails and mocktails are different. They're similar, but they ain't the same. So, like, when the Mets are in it, yeah, it's kind of different kind of feeling like, oh, man, can our guys do it? We believe it, the hype packages and all that. But when you're sitting back and just watching the game, you can sit back and say, oh, wait, the Blue Jays had a plan. Or, oh, wait, the Dodgers are inevitable. And just be a lot more objective in your analysis. So I like them both, but, you know, given my opportunity, I like to have my boys actually in the postseason. Does it happen this year?
And I'm just looking around. We've been spoiled a little bit because the Mets have been in, the Orioles have been in. They're not in this year. The Astros have definitely been in, and they're not in this year. So, Malik, my man, how are you feeling? And I'm going to ask you the same question. What was the kind of your big takeaways from the first games in the divisional round? We'll go back and talk about the wild card round as well. But what's your first takeaways of these early divisional round games?
My early takeaways is that we've just seen the best of baseball so far. We've had some really great pitching matchups and pitching performances in the playoffs, as well as high-scoring games and blowouts as well. So you can't say that there's not that classic, small ball going on in playoff baseball. And you can't say that there aren't high-scoring games. One thing that I wanted to highlight was the freaking Blue Jays. Like, if you have not been paying attention to the Blue Jays all season, now it's your chance. And so this is Canada's team, the only team that's representing this country. So It's looking like a happy Vladimir Guerrero is really ready to take on the reins of being the leader of this team, and it's really exciting to see some high octane, high offensive baseball. And being sitting on the sidelines without my team being in it in the hunt, it helps me to appreciate it without having so much emotional baggage, I guess, this time around.
I suppose.
And of course, we are going to talk about the Blue Jays. They have just looked like absolute world beaters. We're going to talk about Flobo's favorite topic as well, which is rest versus non-rest when it comes to these teams. One of the teams that did not get rest, but they are up 2-0 against a team that is getting rest, is April's Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, April, tell us, same question, when you're looking back at these two games against the Phillies, you kind of look back at the early playoffs. What is the thing that stands out to you the most?
I definitely, there have been some great pitching matchups, and I think for me the big thing has been just the good baseball that's been played, or even some of the unexpected baseball that's being played. I was not expecting the Yankees to be down the way that they were yesterday to the Blue Jays. Like, yeah, I expected the Blue Jays to come out and put on a little showing, but the Blue Jays were literally massacring them pretty early. And even the same with the Brewers and the Cubs. So for me, the big surprise is we've seen these teams, and I don't want to get too far ahead because I know that's its own segment. But the shock for me was the teams that had the rest came out prepared to put on a match. And I also believe that this Tigers and Mariners series has just been phenomenal. I wasn't expecting that one to be the close series, but it's just been some great baseball whenever you turn it on. If you're not an AL Central person, an AL fan, period, in that particular arena. So, yeah.
Well, look, I will say this, and we're going to go back around this way again, because obviously I'm surprised that the Mariners and Tigers series is as good as it is, because I did not expect the Tigers to be there. I did not pick the Tigers.
I did.
So a lot of my picks have already gone by the wayside, and it looks like a couple more are down 0-2 going into the wayside as we talk about this. So before we go into where we are now, let's back up a little bit, because it's been a week since we've been together, and we had, I would say, out of 4 wild card series, obviously these are best out of 3 games. We had 3 of them that went all 3. I think 3 of them were really, really exciting, really well played. I actually like, since it is such a short series, I like the higher seed host city hosting the entire kind of 3 games and just kind of running it in a row. So you had obviously really uncompetitive games in Los Angeles. I'm glad, this is what I'll tell you, Flobo. And I'll tell you this to any Mets fan. I liked, obviously, the excitement of the end of the season, and obviously there's a lot of talk about the Reds making that spot and the Mets not making that spot. But what I will tell you this, if that's the Reds team that was going to show up, we might as well have had someone else. Now, there was some talk. There was some talk about the Dodgers figuring something out in regards to tipping pitches and on their laptops. There's a lot of controversy after Hunter Green got shelled and a bunch of other of the Reds pitchers just got shelled. It seemed like the Dodgers knew what was coming before the pitchers were throwing. They knew every time the Reds were throwing a breaking pitch. Now, I don't know, like, all I saw was what's on floating around the social medias, and you can't really count that stuff as real, but there was just a lot of what's the word, circumstantial evidence that the Dodgers kind of knew what was coming from the Reds pitchers and were waiting for pitches and just tee it off. So we'll go back around, but I'll say of the 4 series, clearly the Dodgers Reds was not really competitive. And the Dodgers also look like the team that we thought they were going to look like all season.
Mhm.
But with that said, the Guardians and the Tigers, absolutely phenomenal. The Cubs and the Padres, I've got my own personal opinions about that series. I will tell them as we go through. But the Cubs won 2-1, and then we got an epic. I
What
think
is that even? I
we'll
got my
get to
personal
it.
opinions
We'll
about
get
the
to
game.
it. But we
Padres
got an
lost. That's the
epic. We got
opinion.
an epic Red Sox Yankees 3
Yes.
game in the Bronx that I was just chef kiss to that. So of this wild card situation, we know who moved on. Flobo, was there anything in that slate of games that really stood out to you, surprised? Any comments that you would have on the teams moving on and the teams that didn't move on?
The first thing about the Reds Dodgers series, and it's a shame because when you make the postseason, that should be a grand thing. I mean, the Reds postseason merch was on sale for like 16 hours, and that was
Did
full.
you get any?
It should have been Queens, man. I'm not gonna be bold and say the Mets would have won against the Dodger team that strong, but I would have definitely seen a game 3 happen and it'd be a lot more competitive. But the series for me definitely was Chicago and San Diego. I know Chicago is your favorite team, Cheats, and I know dang well that San Diego is your favorite team, April. But what I saw was like there's certain teams like the Dodgers who play very sweet science, technical boxing. This was a bar fight. Both these teams have played sloppy up and down the lineup. So many opportunities, men left on base. It really was a war of attrition. I'm glad the Cubs advanced because I really think that core in San Diego needs to be reworked. But that was when I was watching from like inning 1 to inning 9.
Yeah, I mean, look, we have been on record over and over again, like every episode down. I talk about how much I don't watch the Cubs. All right. So no. So 1, I picked the Padres. And so 2, I'm sitting there watching these games in Chicago, waiting for the San Diego bats to wake up, right? And hit the ball. And in my mind, I'm watching these games. I'm seeing the environment in Wrigley, which was absolutely phenomenal. That was a very cool part of watching those games. But my opinion, when I say I have my opinion about the series, is watching all 3 games. That was my question was, man, are these pitchers really good, or are both of these teams outside of Mason Miller, who was very good? But are these teams just not performing? Like they're just not getting it done, and there's nothing now after watching those 3 games that make me think the Padres or the Cubs were the teams I thought they were going into that series. It's just I'm not surprised. Fortunately for Cubs fans, they're up 3-0 against the Brewers now. But I'm not surprised watching the 3 games in Wrigley that the Brewers came out and scored 6 runs in the first 2 innings or something, and just walked away from those guys. And I don't watch the Cubs enough to see all the things they do well. But if we watch that series, I just don't think it was that well played. I don't think it was that, they didn't really timely hit. They didn't do anything that makes me think these teams are going to be the teams to beat. And so
I hate the fact that you're right because you don't watch the Cubs. So I can't even be like, well, it's actually a bad
I watched
series.
3 games of the Cubs.
But what I'm saying is that series was so flat. I said, none of y'all deserve to advance. It really was kind of the worst series as it is. But I do think that's a crime. If you're Milwaukee, you're saying, okay, whoever wins this series is going to be free, easy, even though they're down right now. And if you're San Diego, these are fundamental things that plagued them for years. They get to the big stage and then they just kind of clam up. And so what we saw was a perfect cocktail. I'm talking about cocktails all day today, apparently, of just bad things happening at once.
Yeah, I mean, you saw 3 games, and I do personally. I like Tatis. I like Machado. I like Jackson Merrill. I like the players on the team, and I think that, and I see them in the regular season, and sometimes that lineup looks hella scary when they're raking. But Malik, they just they weren't hitting at all. They weren't hitting with runners on. They weren't hitting when runners not on. And it's we're looking games where it's if Michael Busch hits a 2-run home run, Cubs are going to win because it looks like nothing else is going to happen.
I don't know about that series. It was very flat, and that's probably why I didn't really tune in. Just kind of just tuning in on the score on my MLB app, just seeing what it was about. But the series that I tried to keep my eyes on was the Guardians in Detroit series, and that one really. I was trying to see if Jose Ramirez was going to will his team into more playoff appearances because he was doing the best that he can on his side to will that team there. But I think what that series showed us is that Tarek Skubal is probably going to be the highest paid pitcher that we've ever seen for a long time because of the way that he himself is willing the Detroit Tigers into more playoff appearances himself. So
Yeah,
My God.
he's absolutely awesome.
Jesus.
Bruins already tied it up. Um,
With that
Scoop-
home run?
Scooble is absolutely awesome. He is proving it time and time again. The thing that stood out to me watching the Guardians Tiger series, and I thought it was a fantastic series. I watched all 3 games, but I think the Guardians ultimately it showed up in the playoffs when it mattered that they shouldn't have been sellers. They shouldn't have been sellers at the deadline because they needed more bats in the lineup. And, again, Jose Ramirez is Jose Ramirez. He's doing the best he can. But with that lineup, you know what you could do? You can kind of pitch around Jose Ramirez if you needed to. And unfortunately for the Guardians, my boy, who I love, Stephen Kwan, did not have it. In 3 games, he just didn't have it. So you had this lineup of the Guardians who just, they just needed more. And I also think the emotional effort they had to take going in towards the end of the season, making that climb, ultimately winning the AL Central. They get to these games. Detroit's, I hate to say it this way, but it's the truth. Detroit's a little pissed off, right? They're just angry about the way the season ended. They know that no one has a lot of high expectations on them. And they've got a 3-game series with a guy like Tarek Skubal pitching game 1. April, if you're Detroit, you got to feel like, you can reset here, right?
Oh, absolutely. And they go into this Mariner series looking exactly that particular way because that series with the Mariners, you see that Detroit is hungry and they're hearing the whispers of the crowds out there. They're hearing people questioning, can they go back and are they still legit? Is the manager going to overmanage? And is Tarek Skubal the only person that they have on the mound? Like, so all these things are mounting, and then you see players showing up and players ready and players literally doing what they need to do to be able to compete against the Mariners. And honestly, that's just been a really really good series to the point like I'm excited to watch them again tomorrow. No lie, because you don't know who's going to win. And the fact that that first game between the Mariners and Detroit went into overtime, went into extra innings, and we know that there are no ghost runners in the postseason. It was just I mean I had my pick of who I thought who I think is gonna win, but I'm not gonna lie. This is just this has me excited for some really good baseball. That's what we're seeing between Detroit and the Mariners. But if you're asking me, or if we're going by the series that caught my eye initially, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, it was Yankees Red Sox. Like I just felt like it was just a blow of just you couldn't turn your TV off because it's the traditional rivalry. And initially you thought that it looked a certain way, and then here the Red Sox come, and then you hear that there are certain players who can't make it or won't be able to play, but they still somewhat show up to put up a fight, and then it's not enough, and boom. But ultimately, I'm not gonna lie, that was a really good series for me, and I really enjoyed watching both sides compete. I do think that the Red Sox are probably a little bit ahead of schedule of where they're probably supposed to be. We'll see who they keep and so forth moving forward. But yeah, I really enjoyed the Yankees Red Sox series.
Yeah, I agree with you, in the sense that the of obviously the four series that we're looking at, Yankees Red Sox was absolutely phenomenal. A lot of energy in the Bronx. Game one, I don't think you can overstate what Garrett Crochet did to the
Yes.
Yankees lineup. He was absolutely phenomenal game one, and he turns the ball over to Chapman, who closes the deal. And we're
Mm.
finishing game one, looking at this thing like, what's going to happen. You have no clue how that's going to shake out. Then you have game two was just like an epic performance, right? So
Mhm.
most of the people that follow this will know, but the controversy outside of Garrett Crochet's dominance, the controversy on the Yankees side was you sit Jazz Chisholm, you sit
Yeah.
Ben Wrights, you don't start them, right? Jazz gives a post game interview in the locker room with his back turned, and there's just a whole lot of like, what's going on? What's going on?
The media
Game
hated
two,
that, Cheats. They
what's
hated
that?
that. I think they hated that.
It was kind of goofy though. Really, like
Yeah. I don't think it was
a locker room is this big, Malik. Like, what's he looking at?
I loved it. I loved
I
every minute of
don't
it.
think
Me
it was
too. I loved it.
I don't think it was the maturest move
I'm not
for
looking at
Jazz,
you.
but I will say this: Jazz has proven all year in New York that he's cared an extreme. Like he's cared. He's worked hard. He's had a phenomenal season, All-Star season. First Yankee since Suriano to go 30 for 30. Like if anybody earned his right into the lineup for game one, even against the lefty Crochet, it's Jazz Chisholm. Now, again, this is where baseball I feel like is different than other sports, different than sports that allow our community to show a little bit more personality. And yes, I will go there because had this been the NBA or the NFL, I think it's still kind of a same. I think you might get the same kind of initial reaction, if you will, but I don't know if it's as I don't know if it's as a whirlwind, if you will, right? Like a perfect storm has to happen after game one, which is the Yankees lose, right? Jazz and Ben Rice are both not like, kind of fixtures. I think Jazz might have pinch hit in game one or something like that.
Mm.
But this is New York, right? So
Mhm.
and the other thing I will say, which good or bad, like it or not, like the only thing that's breaking into like mainstream media, even with the playoffs and baseball talk, was like Yankees stuff, right? So Yankees Red Sox will cut into football a little bit. They will take a break on SportsCenter from all the football highlights to
Right.
show you the Yankee Red Sox. So I do think that there's a little bit of all of that came into play post game one in Jazz. I say all that to say Jazz comes back and he's basically the player of the game in game two. With his diving stop at second
Mm.
base that possibly saves the run, scoring from first to third
Yep.
on the Austin Wells hit. They get what they need out of Rodon. They get what they need out of the bullpen. The Yankees win game 2, 4-3, and a really, really good game, right? A really, really good game. And then you do go to game 3 in the Bronx, and that turns into the Schlittner game. That's
Mhm.
right. The Schlittner game where he does all kinds of amazing rookie things. He goes 8
12
innings,
strikeouts.
just a record number of strikeouts, shuts down the Red Sox lineup, and it's now again because it's New York, and it's a little bit of overreaction to everything. Which again, I'm not taking anything away from Slintner. He pitched a heck of a game. But now there was already articles. It's like, does the Yankees have a new ace in Garrett Cole and Schlittner? And like, there's all kinds of things going crazy. But I do think you put all of this together and extreme high drama, tradition, like April said, Red Sox, Yankees tradition. The other thing that you got to talk about when you talk about this series is the postseason woes, if you will, continue for Aaron Judge. So that's a storyline all in itself. Like at this point, I'm thinking A-Rod's a better postseason hitter than Aaron Judge is. So it's tough. It's tough.
A-Rod's a better hitter than a lot of guys. So
Flobo. No, I'm talking about postseason though. It took I think A-Rod had like one good postseason, right? Is that what it was?
That's true.
They won the World Series. When you put it all in perspective, just the Yankees and everything that surround them with the Red Sox series, Judge included, Jazz included, Schlittner included. What did you see, Flobo?
Man, look, there are teams like the Dodgers where I feel like they have things that are breaking down, but they find a way to make it work. But this Yankee squad is held together by duct tape and vibes.
Yep.
It's almost like they'll go and overperform for 2 games and then just not show up for a weekend, which will get you eliminated in the postseason. So I was not rooting for the Red Sox to win this. I do think that would have been fun to see it, but I really want the Yankees to show that they had a caliber of a team that's ready to go on in this postseason. The fact it took them 3 days to do it and the fact the games were close had me a little nervous. And again, I love hating on the Yankees as a Mets fan, but I do think MLB needs the Yankees to be good. They need to have more silverware. So I'm all about that. Then they go over to Toronto, it's a whole other issue. So to answer your question, they have everything working for them, but I don't understand why is Aaron Judge a different person in the postseason. I don't understand if Jazz is so hot, why do you even sit him in the first place? I'd rather him go out there and not do well at all in game 1 and be sit down the second game. So it's some of the judgment calls, some of the personnel calls. It's just kind of this weird mixed bag that I'm not even sure what to make of it.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing: the Red Sox started another lefty, right? The lefty rookie early in Game 3, and they started Jazz and Rice after Game 2. So I think it was kind of a situation where Aaron Boone is playing the odds, right? Maybe too smart for his own good, but it like you said, Flobo, they have this tough fight, very emotional fight with the Red Sox for 3 games. They do pull it out, right? Then they go to Toronto, and we can move on now because we can jump to the divisional series. They go to Toronto and get lambasted. I'm talking about waylaid. 2 games now. The Blue Jays have scored an incredible amount of runs. The Yankees have not. They got 7 yesterday late in the game after they were already down
2 games.
Right. And so let's just talk about it all at the same time. The Blue Jays, Malik, got the rest they needed. They still without Bobby Bichette, who's like the MLB hits leader. But it looks like the Blue Jays are flat out on a mission, especially offensively. And they don't care who's pitching. It could be Fried. It could be anybody. And they're just teeing off. What are you seeing from the Blue Jays as seems like inevitable that they're going to at least get one more game out of this?
The Blue Jays are playing a brand of baseball that's clashing with the Yankees brand of baseball. I think that the Yankees are very dependent on the home run ball on big moments. Flobo, you mentioned that they get really hot, they get really consistent in one stretch, and that's because of their offensive approach is very much geared towards hitting home runs. They're the bombers. But then you have the Blue Jays, who are high contact oriented. They play a very high defensive grade of baseball, as we've seen a lot of the platooning that they've been doing in Toronto. And I think that the Yankees pitching philosophy was worked against the Red Sox, which are a high strikeout team, but the Blue Jays don't strike out a lot. And so the types of pitching that they are throwing, the strategy is not as easy when navigating a Blue Jays lineup when the 9-hole hitter can take you deep or he can actually get on base. And so I think what we're seeing from not only just the Blue Jays just having this good brand of baseball going on, but they also had some rest and they've played the Yankees before. They're pretty familiar with the Yankees
a lot. They're the AL East.
They beat the Yankees a lot this year too. Yeah. And so I think this is a case in which things in the regular season can translate to the postseason when you look at the intangibles like strikeout rate, contact rate, the amount of balls that the Toronto Blue Jays are not letting drop onto the grass. And so I think that that's what we're seeing right now is a very well put together team, and they're all executing at the same time.
April, we've seen now for, I think, 3 games against the Red Sox and now 2 games for the Blue Jays who've in 2 games to score 23 runs. I mean, they're outscoring the Yankees 23-8 right now. But we've seen something that I was a little bit surprised about, and I made a short video about it. It was up on Instagram. But we have seen 2 teams in the postseason in big moments. I'm talking about bases loaded, no outs, base open in the Red Sox. I'll never live this down, but it was a empty first base, and these guys are just going after Aaron Judge, and they're winning. And I'm like flabbergasted because I'm sitting here thinking, if this is Barry Bonds, do they pitch to him? Absolutely not. If this is Shohei, do they pitch? No, maybe. The Phillies went after Shohei today in a big spot, and I was kind of confused about that. Is it a sign? Abel, do you think it's a sign of the times? Do you think you set Barry Bonds or hitters of that ilk, just sit them in a different category? Bonds is probably a different category from everyone,
right?
But it's like I'm actually surprised that in these big spots, no one seems to be afraid of Aaron Judge, who again I think is the second best hitter in baseball and has been for the last 5 years, or outside of Shohei Ohtani. And it's not, they're neck and neck in many ways. But why do you think that we're playing in a day and age where they're just not afraid of an Aaron Judge, especially in the postseason?
Well, because he hasn't shown anything to make them afraid in the postseason. And y'all know I love Aaron Judge. But when it comes to this particular time, in order for me to have a fear factor of you, you have to give me something to be able to fear. And right now, if we're talking about somebody that I'm fearing at that plate, it's going to be Vlad Guerrero Jr. a little bit more than Aaron Judge. Because it got to the point where I'm like, why are we really going to pitch to him again? Because I don't know if this is something that we should do right now. But yeah, so as great as Aaron Judge is, when he turns it on, we know that this is a moment for everybody to fear for him in this postseason, but he just hasn't gotten to that point yet. And so if I'm a pitcher, I'm a pitch to you, because I mean, you might have somebody behind you, but I don't fear that you're going to do something that is ultimately going to hurt me or hurt my team in the process.
And I have to think that it's in his head now.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Like it has to be from his postseasons, kind of this narrative that's kind of floating around. Now you get more and more opportunities. You're obviously pressing. Aaron Judge swung at a pitch in the dirt, I want to say, with that bases loaded, no outs in the 6th inning with a 2-0 game. That was clearly ball 4 he was swinging at. Is there any light at the end of this Aaron Judge tunnel right now, like in regards to just himself for his own good? I'm not saying the Yankees are going to win, but is there something he can snap out of?
I don't know. You're at the point now, because the I won't say the window's closing for the Yankees, but I don't think it's going to be easy for them to get back to this postseason the way this team is constructed, the way it's going to go every year. You may have diminishing returns, so your opportunities may be limited. And now, if pitchers know that you're going to swing out of everything, what do you do? Now, the only I can compare him to, which again, forgive me for those Yankee diehards, is Pete Alonso. And bear with me when I say this, and that is last year. At this time, Pete Alonso was ice cold for the last 6 weeks of the postseason, swinging at the dirt, reaching over, like trying to mash absolute everything. And what happened was teams got so complacent with Pete, they start throwing him meatballs, and he got lucky. So to answer your question, Sheets, Judge will have to get lucky, which is the worst thing to tell anybody who works on proficiency. That 3-run homer against Devin Williams, that's great, but that came after like almost people wanting him off the team, just him just swinging at everything.
And April mentioned it as well, Malik. I'll throw it to you. It seems as if, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I do think there was some stuff here with Vlad and the Yankees that was kind of like, I'm not going to play for them. Like there was, before he signed his extension, there was a lot of talk. Can the Yankees go out and get Vlad? And he was just like, I want to stay in Toronto. I don't want to be a Yankee type thing. It makes me feel like, Malik, there's a the Michael Jordan, I took this personally thing. Like, he really seems locked in to beat the Yankees more than anyone else. But it could just be that he's just locked in. But I just, in my mind, it looks like he is personally kind of taking on this challenge to be the player that a lot of folks know he can be.
I think that we're seeing him mature in a lot of ways that he was never. I don't think we gave him enough grace to mature, because when he's Vladimir Guerrero's son,
Right.
coming up being like the number one prospect. He had a pretty decent like couple of years, and then he's been like going up and up every year. And now we're seeing that Vlad is a leader. Like, we still kind of see him as a kid, because I think he's like 27.
Him and Tatis are the same age, because they came up together in this like before the age of 21, right?
Yeah. And I think with giving him that contract, he's really locked in, not only as like someone who wants to beat the Yankees, but beat the Yankees for many years. Seeing that he's going to be with Toronto for a good majority of his career, that I can guess.
He's 26 years old.
He's 26 years old, so
Yeah.
he's going to be hitting against the Yankees for a long time. And I think that he's finally seeing himself as that leader, that permanent leader. When Toronto made a commitment to him, he made a commitment to Toronto. And so he's even like his physique, he looks like he can play third base. He's faster. If you even check like his Savant page, he's been running a little bit quicker on the bases. And so I think that we're seeing a very athletic Vlad. He was kind of portrayed as this guy who was just going to get bigger and not be able to play first base and end up being a DH. But I think he's becoming a very athletic, underrated first baseman. Still underrated in my eyes.
Just to stay on this one more thing, April, because Vlad said himself, they asked him yesterday, what was the difference between this Toronto team and kind of the previous Toronto teams as he played on? I've got a couple of theories. One is health. Guys like George Springer are healthy and played most of the season. Comfortability. Vlad got paid. He signed the extension. He's got his money now, and he's living up to it. But not having a contract obviously can wear on a person. Guys like Bichette, who again is not played yet in this postseason, but really has come through. But I'll tell you, April, and I'll let you respond. Vlad said this entire team is different, and he gave an example of today. So today is their day off. They're not playing today. Today was a volunteer workout for the Blue Jays. He said every member of the team was there today for a volunteer workout, obviously after they're already up 2-0 and headed to the Bronx. And so that alone kind of tells you something is different with the team unity, kind of the way that they're running the program there. I don't know how much of Toronto you got to see prior to this series, but they seem like they're world beaters. What are you taking away from a team that just seems like they're hitting on all cylinders? They believe in themselves, and they seem to be more together than they've been in years past.
Yeah, I want to take y'all back to a couple of years ago, not to be centered around my own team, but do y'all remember when it was a couple of years ago and the Dodgers, they had a volunteer workout and a lot of the players did not show up. And I was very angry about it. And lo and behold, boom, we got pushed out of the playoffs, out of the postseason. So seeing and hearing you say that Toronto is 100% locked in to this gives a whole different meaning to exactly what we're seeing. They're ready, they're prepared, they are just ready to take on this moment, a moment that they've been waiting for a long time. It's been a while since Toronto has made it to this particular place. And so for them to understand what this moment means, they are truly embracing this whole thing. Yes, they played the Yankees, and I think we're all seeing that it didn't matter who was going to come out of that series, Yankees or Red Sox. I don't think we realized how mentally prepared Toronto seems to be for this.
Flobo was prepared.
I was.
He was fully
had all
on
that
the
rest.
Rogers
You know
Center.
what? You're
They
right.
had that rest.
He's
Flobo,
locked in.
you and Malik both picked the Blue Jays to rock out, and I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I told y'all my dad, he watches them a lot because he's a Yankees fan, and he told me before the season, before this postseason, he was like, they're great hitters, and they will wear you down. They will wear down your pitchers, but they're always ready to go into the batter's box. And so as a team, you see them playing. We got to see a lot of the highlights because George Springer was on Finish Your Breakfast quite a few times, and a couple of others. So we're getting to see exactly why he was on Finish Your Breakfast and why Toronto ended up being the AL East champions.
Well, I'll tell you who wasn't on Finish Your Breakfast a lot, and that was Trey Savage, who seemed to have pitched a heck of a game. Now, Gossman, we knew what Gossman could do. Gossman has been really, really good. Savage, just to me, seems to come out of nowhere, kind of like Schlittner, and pitch a heck of a game. Before we move on, I do have one question going back to Cleveland, Detroit, and I was mind blown by this. I was absolutely mind blown by this, and maybe Malik or someone can add some insight to me about this. The Guardians decided to start Chase DeLauter as a MLB debut in the postseason. He debuted in the major league, starting in center field in the postseason. And again, I think it's apropos, like it or not, the first fly ball hit to him, he drops it. Now and again, I like Chase DeLauter. I think he's going to be a phenomenal player. I think he's going to be a really good player for Cleveland or whoever he plays for a long time. I don't understand. How do you get yourself in a position to win the AL Central and have to win a lot of games down the stretch to win the AL Central and get in a position where you're making a MLB debut in the wild card game 1 in center field? How does that happen?
Unfortunately, that's a Chase DeLauter question, because Chase DeLauter is probably the second best hitter on that team behind Jose Ramirez. If we're talking about power, I think we do. I think if you look at his minor league data is very good. He's just been very limited because of his injuries. Let me tell you something about him. He's been their best hitter in the minor leagues. But I think when you're a team like Cleveland, you have John Kinsey Noel with a sub 500 OPS as your platoon hitter, a lefty platoon hitter, and there's other guys in that lineup that do not hit, and you're relying on the likes of Kyle Manzardo and Bo Naylor. You sometimes will have to pull up a player, because for the context of a place like Cleveland, who else is going to help them? Who's going to help J-Ram in that lineup next to Chase DeLauter? I know it's the playoffs, but his injuries have not allowed him to be on the timeline that Cleveland needed him to be on. He was hurt half the time this year.
Am I crazy? Crazy? Because I think this sounds crazy. They just played Detroit.
They're starting rookies in game 3 games, and so.
But they just played Detroit, 2 weeks ago, a week ago, in a big series, and they won 2 out of 3 of those games. Then they have to win to finish the season, right?
Yeah.
To win the division. I mean, to win the AL Central, and you get to the playoffs and you do this. I don't
get it. Pretty well though for his debut.
For some context,
and I like DeLauter. I'm not mad at DeLauter. I'm just trying to understand organizationally what's going on.
It's like you are. Why you drop that ball?
No.
I think it's an issue about a team.
With DeLauter.
I think it's an issue of a team running out of flame, running on fumes. You know what I mean? You asked why did Cleveland sell? Because on July 31st, they were 10 games back. The season was over. Like everything that happened afterwards was all like Cinderella story.
Yes.
And I think it was coming to a realization the last week and a half of the regular season where they were winning the games against a Detroit Tigers team that was floundering, but they're going, we're not beating them into submission. We're just hanging with them. Something has to change. So it was definitely a gambit, as they say in chess. It backfired, as I obviously could tell, but I can't knock them for trying to shuffle the deck, even in the postseason.
Can I ask something too? And this
go
is
ahead, because I think it's crazy.
It's crazy, but it's Cleveland.
This is about the Yankees, and I mean, you know, obviously they'll be in New York tomorrow. But my question to y'all is, what did y'all think about Aaron Boone pulling Max Fried and going to the bullpen when he was having a great game so far? Do y'all think that made a big difference in how game one turned out? And this is probably going back to Red Sox, but my concern is this something that's going to play out in this series as well? With, I mean, obviously the game is on the line tomorrow. So,
as the resident Aaron Boone hater, I've anointed myself the role. I didn't hate it, only because you don't know about the deck being stacked or how long these games are going to go. You want to keep Fried as fresh as you can, especially if the series goes to a game 4 or 5 situation. I understand that, but in hindsight, it's going to look like you don't know what you're doing, and that's just the way managers have been trending about pulling people early. Even teams that were close to being like the playoffs in the regular season were playing like managing like postseason games. So it's definitely cool to see that and pull that out and be like, Boone sucks, but I will say Boone sucks for other reasons, but I would not.
Okay. I just wanted to ask that question while we were here.
Yeah, I mean, I think we live in a like era now where you're just, I mean, you see Dave Roberts all the time. So you're basically hunting for matchups, and you're, you know, you look at these things and you're piecing in the, you know, what you think is the right kind of matchup to do. And so again, it goes back, especially with Boone, right? And I didn't notice this until, shout out to our guy Sid. I didn't notice this until Sid told us about like just how much AJ Hinch moves the Detroit guys around. Like just like how much he plays that managerial card and puts his imprint on games as well. But it's pretty obvious when you watch the Tigers play. It's like, good Lord. Yeah, but seriously, it's like, you know, who do they take out and put in Jemai Jones, who I like, but who do they you know, played the numbers in the Cleveland series, and they took out I can't remember who it was. It was Kerry Carpenter or somebody, and put in Jemai Jones. Yeah. Long story short, to answer the question about Fried, I just think Boone looked at the situation and then kind of looked at the matchups and numbers and decided to make the move. Right now, there is also an element of this in baseball that, and you see it time and time again, like the Crochet situation, where it was like, you better keep your butt in the dugout because I got this.
Right.
Like, you know, I got it. Like, and again, that's reserved for some of the aces of the world. And Fried is an ace, don't get me wrong, but clearly there's a Scooble situation or a Crochet situation every once in a while, a Blake Snell or somebody like that, where they just give that manager like, you better not be coming out here to take the ball away from me now. And so I just think that's what happened. I think Boone is playing the odds and playing the numbers and looking at matchups and makes the move. And on paper, you know, you start to see like, oh, analytics says this is this is the best matchup. And I do think there's a little bit of Boone now that, again, I mean, just goes back to Rice and Jazz in game one. I think Boone might lean a little bit too heavily on what's on paper and not like the feel of the game. So yeah, I mean, that's, I mean, I just think that's what happened there. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Black Baseball Mixtape Podcast. The whole crew is here. We are live. We are talking playoffs, and I want to talk. That's right. Thank you. Thank you, Richie. Riley Green. He takes out Riley Green and puts in But I want to talk about breakout players, breakout stars. We already talked about Vlad Jr., but I want you to look around so far in this kind of playoff landscape, playoff picture. This is the time. This is the time that people are talking about baseball games. They're talking about who's going to be postseason stars. And if you've looked around kind of the wild card round and the first couple of divisional games that you've seen, have you identified a player, two players that may be introducing themselves to the nation on a larger scale that hopefully we'll be able to follow for a long time? I'll give you my example right now. There's been a couple of people that are, you're really starting to stand up and pay attention to in these playoffs. It can't not, and it's only one game, I guess, and then they're playing now. But I think the world's going to be really fall in love with, excited to see Jackson Churio. Jackson Churio, for the Brewers, is somebody that is just about, like, you have to see this guy play. And he's young and he's fast and he's phenomenal and he does a lot of cool things. And I think he just proved game one against the Cubs before he exited the game with a hamstring. He was like 3 for 3 with 3 RBIs. I think he's going to make people, if the Brewers continue to go on, he's going to make people stand up and pay attention. So I've got a couple of breakout stars that I think are really going to put kind of the nation on notice as we go through the playoffs. But I'll start with Churio. I might get a second one on the back end. April, do you have any breakout stars that you think will be really impressive to maybe not the diehard baseball fan, but to the casual baseball fan?
Definitely, I would have said Churio too. But, y'all, I have to stick with my guy because Roki Sasaki, can I use him?
Yeah, Sasaki's a good one.
Okay.
I would say Sasaki from a bullpen aspect. This isn't something that people saw him being, or people saw him being successful with per se, and this being his rookie season. The way he was able to close out that one inning, we just saw that happen. I think it's great to see him show out the way that he is. I hope, fingers crossed, I hope we get to see a little bit more of Justin Dean. I know maybe I'm wishful thinking, but he did get some playing time today. Andy Pajes was moved to right field, and Justin Dean was in center field tonight. So that would be a great thing. I was very excited. Justin Dean for the Los Angeles Dodgers, by the way, that he even made the 26-man NLDS roster. So yeah, and I hope that this brings opportunities for him, even if it's not with the Dodgers. But I want to keep him because I want New Jersey to be wearing around too.
I will definitely give you Sasaki. I do not think Justin Dean is going to be a breakout star unless several people in the Dodgers break their leg. But I do like Justin Dean as a player.
Yeah.
Malik, is there any breakout stars that you think that, like, again, not the diehard baseball fan who might be locked in, but like the world is going to see on this stage and be like, yo, this guy's a guy I'm going to lock into?
So this one's tricky because it does come from the Blue Jays, and I have a player that I didn't expect to be this good, and it's Alejandro Kirk of the Toronto Blue Jays.
I like it.
Yeah, I was gonna go with the guy that's in center field, who just hit a couple of home runs, but Kirk hit a couple of home runs himself. This is a guy who really is not the prototypical athlete physique. He is like a pudgy guy. He's kind of built like a fire hydrant, but the way that he like moves behind the plate. Have you seen his defensive numbers? He's one of the best defensive catchers in baseball, one of the best hitting catchers in baseball, one of the best framing catchers in baseball. And I think we're really getting to see his actual performance on a grander scale. And he's been doing it all year now. When the Blue Jays traded for Varsho, and they went with Kirk as their guy. They traded Gabriel Moreno and Lourdes Gurriel to the Arizona Diamondbacks. I was just floored. I was like, why would you do that? Even though I thought, Varsho was a really good player and he played catcher at the time. But this trade is looking like a slam dunk for the Blue Jays because now they have a really good catcher behind the plate with Kirk. He's doing everything that I think the Mets wanted Francisco Alvarez to do for them.
Shots fired.
Yeah, I know. But it's just like he's literally the player that they want him to be for that team. And I think eventually Frankie will get there. But we're seeing it in Kirk right now. He's just balling. It's crazy how he gets so much production out of that body.
Alejandro Kirk, the first Mexican-born player to hit 2 home runs in the postseason.
Yes, that's a history maker right there.
That is a history maker. I think that's a good one. I would not have been mad at you if you said Varsho as well. He is obviously 2 home runs in the game yesterday, playing extremely well. Kirk 2 home runs in game 1 against the Yankees. They've got Vlad. They've got a bunch of guys that I think could be breakout stars. But they're still look, Suzuki's got star potential. Churio's got star potential. Not sure about Kirk and Varsho just yet. Flobo, who do you think has star potential that the world is going to be really kind of latched onto after this playoffs?
First of all, El Toro, Francisco Alvarez, is 3 years younger, okay, than Kirk. Just keep that in mind.
Couldn't let it go.
I'm just, never.
That's a good point.
Couldn't let it go.
He is very young.
I think after this weekend, I'm gonna change my pick. That Cam Schluttler dude could be one of the ones that people buy a ticket to see. Almost like Andy Pettit was when he played. Yeah. But I would say, even though he is a big star within baseball fandom, I'm thinking I can see hosting the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards in a couple of years is PCA. I think PCA has enough of the personality in Chicago and can really step up when the lights are on, literally and figuratively, to be that guy. All he has to do is be more consistent at the plate.
I agree.
I thought you were going to a center fielder. I did not think you were going to PCA. I actually do like that. I think playing in Chicago, being in center field in Chicago, the guy hit over 30 home runs this year, right? And he's lightning fast. He makes all the diving catches. I can see the little league kids on the travel ball circuit wanting to be PCA more than a lot of other folks. And again, the question is, will the world kind of, see enough of PCA in this series and really, see the best of him? I mean, obviously he was pretty quiet in the Padres series, but most people were.
Yeah, he's been quiet in the second half. Honestly, his bat disappeared.
Right. I thought you were going to another. I thought you were going to another center fielder, and this guy, I think in baseball circles, he is kind of this. Star is a strong word, but he's a guy that we really thought has just a ton of potential, could be the man per se. Yet, it hasn't really happened. And now we're starting to see, we're starting to see the real J-Rod in center field in Seattle, to a place where if the Mariners go to the World Series, Julio Rodriguez, I think, could be just a flat out household name. He could be the guy, like I said, that you said, Flobo, I think could be hosting the Nickelodeon Kid Choice Awards because he's got the whole package. And Malik, how old is J-Rod?
Isn't he 26 or something? 25, 26?
He's still, I think he's still young. He's still, he's probably around,
24. He's 24.
Yeah, 24 years old. And again, this is a guy that looked, rookie year 2 or 3 years ago, looked like he was super ahead of schedule, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now, after some disappointing seasons, if you will, by his standards and maybe by expectations, I think that J-Rod now is the type of player that we kind of thought he was going to be. And I just think he has just complete star potential.
What if I said, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, because what I'm going to say is
but there was this, I feel like we might be giving J-Rod a lot of flack and we might have to give him a little bit more credit. I saw this stat the other day, and it compared the first 4 years of Griffey and the first 4 years of J-Rod. And they're damn near identical. I'm very shocked to see that J-Rod. Now, granted, we wanted him to be A-Rod in center field.
Right.
Look at how he's built. One of our shout out to Khalif. He says he wants him to be Khalif Stevenson in the Discord chat. He says that we expected him to be A-Rod in center field, and it just hasn't worked out. He's been kind of beat up, but 80 home runs in his first 4 years. Griffey had 60. So we're seeing a player that's probably just becoming more mature in his body, being a lot more comfortable with the team. And so we may have to give him a little bit more credit. Maybe it's just because he plays for, Seattle and the lights are a little bit less bright, but he is the centerpiece of that team. And so I guess he's a little bit better than when we all thought.
And then I was going to say, like the Mariners, they play, the time that they play is typically not available to most people because, most people are asleep. So Julio, but you don't know Julio. And look, I'm on TikTok. I can tell y'all right now, some of the ladies are becoming familiar with Julio. So he also has the branding face that would make him appealing for the Nickelodeon type thing.
Ma'am, what do you mean that the ladies are now noticing?
Forward in that aspect too. Yes, he's on a lot of women's top 10 MLB lists. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I
didn't notice. It's crazy.
We talk in baseball. The most dangerous word in baseball is potential, right? Or potential or projections, right? And so I think we looked at 21-year-old, 22-year-old Julio Rodriguez, and we had these kind of projections and predictions of where he was going to be. And I mean, the fact of the matter is, like you said, some of this stuff takes time. Some of this time takes plate discipline and, learning maturity and learning how to hit and doing certain things. And you're doing a lot of that stuff in real time, especially if you're 20, 21 years old coming up to the show, right? So I just the dude has all the tools, right? He just has all the tools, and being able to put them together in the postseason, put them together on a big stage. It's just fun to see this guy. And I mean, let's just be frank. He's got a lineup in Seattle where he is obviously a really, really good hitter. But he also has Randy in that lineup. He has Riley in that lineup. He has Josh Naylor in that lineup. He has Eugenio Suarez in that lineup. If you're looking at yesterday, you've got Jorge Polanco in that lineup. Right?
That was another player.
So you have a lineup where I don't think J-Rod feels like he has to be, Cal Schwarber or, somebody like, I mean, Aaron Judge has a stacked lineup too, but he doesn't have to be the guy like every night in and night out. And I think that does take a little bit of pressure off him.
Oh, yes. And I was going to say, I feel like when he was 21, 22, that was a lot of the pressure on him. Like he had to be that particular person, because our main critique of Seattle these past few years has been what they do offensively. We knew that defensively and pitching that they were going to show up. However, when they made moves to get Randy Arozarena and you get Naylor, and then Cal Riley is even showing up, I've often wondered exactly what kind of influence as well have these guys played on his offensive capabilities. Because we know sometimes whenever you make these moves that when players tend to bond, it tends to have a positive effect on them as well. So yes, when teams seem to gel, you get to see players turn into who you have this potential in your mind of them being. And it's good to see the Mariners show up in the way that they are, especially with Julio Rodriguez.
Well, let's just, I'm just going to throw it out there. Are there any players this playoffs that we kind of have missed or left out, or somebody that you were thinking that could be a breakout star? So we talked PCA, we talked Churios, we talked J-Rod. You think Jorge Polanco is going to be a breakout star?
I ain't saying breakout star, but he surely knows
I
how to
think he
show
is.
up against Scooble.
He knows how to hit against school. You know,
He hit 2 home runs against Tarek Skubal. And the fact that Jorge Polanco has completely flipped his hitting profile this year, he struck out just 77 times this year. That's impressive. Like most guys are striking out 150 through 180 times, especially if they're hitting home runs. And so it might be Polanco. He might be turning a corner. His reputation has really gone up since, the whole, PD scandal many years ago. A lot of players don't bounce back from things like that. Ramon Laureano was a player like that as well, who had a little bit of a scandal. So he's really turning around. And I think that Dominican core in Seattle, like you were saying, players who like to, gel together. I think we're really seeing those guys, play some very, friendship baseball in Seattle.
I'll be interested to see. I mean, again, and just like to say this, he plays on a team with Randy and Kyle and J-Rod and yeah, like I just it'll be tough, I think, for as well. I mean, he could by well be a really good player, but when I'm thinking breakout star, I'm thinking what Flobo thinks is who's going to sell tickets. I don't think anybody's going to buy a ticket to see Jorge Polanco next season. I think
he's going to take that personally, Cheats. Watch.
Well,
Listen to the podcast.
I mean, he can. I mean, like, all due respect. Like, I think when I'm looking for these breakout stars, I'm looking for a guy that is going to be box office for the next, that you can run the ads on and say, buy your season tickets because this guy's on the program.
I guess when I think of breakout, I think of somebody that might not be as known. Because you already know Ohtani's gonna sell tickets. You already know,
right? So he doesn't count. No, I'm with you on that. I'm not saying Ohtani or Judge; those guys don't count.
Yeah, those guys.
I'm saying the world probably doesn't know Churio, PCA, even J-Rod. Like these guys could be guys that you latch onto. If I'm looking at that category right now from a Yankee standpoint,
Ben Rice.
It's got to be Ben Rice.
That's
got to be Ben Rice.
He has a Spanish appeal. He can speak Spanish.
Yeah, it's got to be Ben Rice or Jazz. It can't be. I mean, Jason Dominguez hasn't really played enough this postseason, right?
Yeah,
I would say Ben Rice for sure because I feel like people for me, breakout star too is not just like a regular season person, but how do you show up in the postseason? Because sometimes people like Kike. Kike is literally Kike October Hernandez. So are there some players who show up and just perform at an outstanding level in the postseason? Like, that they're going to be that. I'm not going to lie. When you said breakout star, I know that Vlad is a star, but what he's doing this postseason is propelling him to a completely
I don't think the world. I think baseball fans, by and large, kind of know who Vlad Jr. is. I don't think the average casual fan, if I walked across the hall and asked my wife, do you know? It was the same thing with Corbin Carroll we talked about a couple years ago. I walked across the hall and asked my wife, does she know who Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is? She probably wouldn't.
Right.
Like, I mean, again, and she's not like, you know what I mean? She's not a barometer of baseball fandom, but she would know, obviously, the Shoheis and the Mookies and the Aaron Judges. So it's like, who can get to that tier is what I'm always thinking about. And again, like Flobo says, because you're gonna run those season ticket packages, and you're gonna want to have want to have your bona fide stars on there, but you're gonna want to have kids. Like, I'm really interested because I do think, and I didn't really think about this until you mentioned it, Flobo. But I'm thinking those, like my kids' little league team, they're 11 and 12-year-olds. When you line them up and you ask all of them, like, who's your favorite player in the league? Who's the coolest player in the league? I think a lot of those young guys are going to be leaning to the PCAs of the world, right? Because they do the things. They have the type of highlights that the kids want to see on their phones, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, a lot of those guys hit bombs, Shohei pitches and hits. So a lot of kids at 12 years old are pitching and hit. The best pitchers, the best hitters, so they kind of relate to that. But they want to do the big web gyms. They want to have the big flash. Jazz is as flash as they come with his drip and chains and sunglasses. And I think those are a lot of the things that kids gravitate to.
I agree.
I
All
agree.
right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Black Baseball Mixtape Podcast. It's the Monday Night Crew is here. The divisional rounds are underway. The wild card rounds are done. We will look ahead in a second, but we have this debate every year, and now is a good time to bring it up just a little bit, Flobo. Just a little bit. Because as it stands right now, the Blue Jays are 2-0 against the Yankees. The Blue Jays are the number 1 seed. They got the bye. They got the rest. The Phillies are 0-2 against the Dodgers. They got the rest. They got the bye. Right? They're the number 2 seed. The Mariners are 1-1. The Mariners got the rest. They got the bye. They got the home field. And as we speak, the Brewers have taken the lead over the Cubs 4-3.
Yes.
And Jacob Mizorowski is in relief. But the Brewers looked like gangbusters in game 1. They're up 1-0. They got the rest. So it seems like if you're looking at this, there's not a lot of difference, Flobo, between the teams that got the rest and the teams that keep playing. We always talk about this. I would probably lean to the side of I'd prefer to be the team that's playing and in rhythm. However, that hurts setting up your pitching. We talk about this every year. Where would you rather be, or do you think it's a team-by-team thing, Flobo?
Well, first things first, I'm glad the debate's finally put to bed, as you can
Is
tell
it put
by
to bed?
I think so, because the fact you don't have a clear advantage or disadvantage with this tells you that each team knows what's ahead of them when they have the rest or not. Intra-squad games in Philadelphia and Seattle were kind of fun to watch. Ichiro played the game. It was awesome.
Super fun.
Yeah, it was fun. But to answer your question, yeah, give me the rest, because now you can really realign what you want to present. You saw what Toronto did. They had time to look at tape. They had time to shuffle the deck. They had time to assess if Bo Bichette could play or not. And they outscored. And again, I like knocking on the Yankees, but the Yankees aren't a bad team, right? But what 26-7 or something like that? 23 runs to 7 runs in 2 games.
Yeah,
It's
23-8.
Just ridiculous, man. And they had the rest. And so I remember last year the rest was a disadvantage. The rest was really bad for teams. There is no tournament format in any major sport now that doesn't have a bye system. Even the classic NBA has play-in games now. You just have to adjust, and good and great teams do that. Now, to answer your question, yes, having the rest would be great, but the being hot, maybe not this year so much, but I will say the being hot team has a lot more fun to watch as a fan.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's a team-by-team thing, because some teams do need the rest. Some teams do need to get healthy. Some teams need to reset their pitching. But, man, hot is hot. And it's, when you get hot, you're blowing through it. Malik, what do you think? Would you prefer to take the rest? Would you prefer to just keep playing? Or do you think it really is a team-by-team thing?
The rest is important. And I think players would agree that the rest is important as well. I know that some were saying that the layoff may have, caused a little bit of a lull. But I think, like you're saying, it's team by team dependent, and it's really depending on the depth of each team. If you have enough pitching depth and you don't have to pitch so many high intensity pitches in the wild card series, like having to throw a slider in a 3-2 count with a guy at first and third, in the 7th inning, in a game where you could have been resting, is I think these things matter. And so especially with the pitching staffs, and we're starting to see that pitchers, as they get more overexposed in playoff series, other teams are able to kind of scout them out. And then once they are playing against them, they see these bullpen arms a couple of times and they find success. So I think that it's really advantageous, mostly for the pitching side, for these players to be able to rest. Now, granted, hitters, they need to hit, right? In offense and home runs absolutely win postseason games, but we've seen some blow up performances out of bullpens in the postseason, and I think that the rest is really going to help the pitching side of those matchups.
I'm going to jump right over to you, April. Same thing.
I do think that it is a team by team thing, but Malik brought up a point that I was going to say, in that the rest does help your pitching. And I know a lot of people are looking like, oh my gosh, the Yankees, they look terrible. But guess what? The Yankees have consistently had to use pitchers in their postseason. And so Toronto has been able to kind of sit back, relax, and show up with what they know of the pitchers that they've seen all year. And unfortunately for New York, this is the result of them not getting that rest. Whereas another factor I think we have to keep in mind too, I don't think that this really applies to the Brewers because the Brewers just seem like a machine right now. But for many of the other teams, they've had some really close division series. So they've been in competitive mode for a while, and this competitive mode has kept them afloat. So you saw it with Detroit, Cleveland, you saw it with Seattle, you saw it with Los Angeles, even with Red Sox, Yankees, Toronto. I think that that also has played a role in keeping the momentum for some of these teams. Whereas in the past, that wasn't really a factor because, you know, the Dodgers, they might have a 12-game lead in the NL West. And so the break, they kind of, you know, took the gas off. Whereas this year, they couldn't take the gas off and they ended up playing this way. So, yeah, I think that it's not just the break. I also think the competitiveness of the game has honed in a little bit on this particular postseason.
Mm-hmm.
I always tend to think that it has to do more with the maturity of the team. And what I mean by that is I think a lot of veteran teams do benefit from, the rest, setting up their pitching, getting healthy. We talked about those kind of live inter squad situations that did seem like a lot of fun. But if you're banged up or you're nixed up and you need treatment, you don't necessarily need to play in those. And I think that if you find the right team with the right temperament, they are going to benefit from having those days off, setting up their pitching and going. I think certain teams, and I do think that you're starting to see this a little bit. I mean, you have to see it a little bit, or assume you're seeing it a little bit, even with this Yankees team, is that they were so emotionally invested in the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get to the 3 games against the Red Sox and they instantly get their backs against the wall, right? So they've got to be emotionally involved for those 2 games in the Bronx. And I'm not saying when they got to Toronto, they were already like done, but sometimes you don't know how tired you are until you get punched in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And Toronto in game 1 starts punching, and then the Yankees are, I feel like the Yankees are like, whoa, what's happening here? Right? Like, what's going on? And I do think, like, you look at the Detroit situation as well. I think the Detroit situation, the end of the year was very emotional.
Mm-hmm.
They get to the 3 games against, in Cleveland, and they're in emotional as well. I think they ride that emotion to Seattle, and School and pitches a great game, and they go to extra innings, but then they're tied up and they're 1-1. I just think that it really, really depends, because I also look at a team like the Phillies, where I think the Phillies are experienced, they're mature, they've been there before. They, again, probably would, in my mind, would benefit greatly from the rest. The Dodgers are playing, they're kind of getting healthy, they're clicking on all cylinders, but they go into Citizen Bank Park and just take 2 games. You know what I mean? 2 competitive games, 2 emotional games, 2 invested games, but the Dodgers just seem as if they're hitting on all cylinders. I'm not saying that the Phillies are flat, but there's a lot of opportunities with big time like chances to come through, and it still didn't happen. So I don't know, Flobo, if the debate is settled, because again,
It's
we
settled.
could have a whole. I say that because we could have a whole playoff series next year where the whole tenor changes, right? You know what I mean? The previous year, you had teams that were resting, that were getting knocked out. I obviously look at my Orioles twice, but it's like,
All right.
but those are the those are discussions I think that'll come on a year by year basis and come on a team by team basis. And next year, if all the bye teams lose, you know what I mean, and we're looking at a Rangers Diamondbacks World Series, we might be like, oh yeah, the rest sucks.
Well, I think the evolution of it all. I'm sorry, I cut you off there, April. But like 2 seasons ago, it was like a weird thing where it was like, "Oh, what's your plan, Doc Roberts? What are you going to do?" "Oh, don't worry about it." But now it's open. People can go to these games. They can see it. I think we're starting to understand what that means, and they're adjusting to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I was going to say, too, a lot of the teams have adjusted to how they prepare for the postseason even through this bye time. So they have the fake games or whatever in their stadiums where they're inviting fans, and so it seems like it's a home game to both players and fans. And I think that this also contributes to them some, even though it's not, the simulation is what it's called, even though it's not a real game, it's still something to keep them in a rhythm. Whereas prior, they may have had voluntary workouts and other things. Now teams have seemed to figure out some kind of routine that helps them to prepare for what's to come with the division series.
Absolutely. Look, as we wind down
100%.
this episode, we may have a special guest. I'm trying to figure this out really, really quickly. But as we wind down this episode, let's look ahead as best we can, because now we've got, as we speak right now, 2-1-1 series with, like I said, the Brewers are up 4-3 right now. That could be, I guess a 1-1-1 series, 1-1-0 series, and then 2-2-0 series. As we look ahead, is there any hope? These are best, again, the divisional rounds. Let me just clarify, and I do want to throw something out there too, because we used to have like the one game take all wild card scenario, which I hated personally, but it made for some really exciting baseball.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now the wild card round is best out of 3 games. I think it's better this way. Do you all agree that it's better this way?
I like it.
Do you like the 3 games over the 1? Flobo. Oh, see Flobo's face.
I not only like it. I not only like the 3 games over the 1. I like the 3 games in one stadium. I believe that is a great reward for the team who has the better record. So yeah.
Yeah, I like the fact that all games are happening the same time, or the 3 days in a row, I should say. But I'm with you. Even though the Mets were on the wrong end of the game 163 in 2016, the one game was definitely kind of like, yo, man, clear your schedule. This is a big deal. But I don't know. I'm torn. The 3 games makes more sense, but the one game thing is a part of my childhood. You know what I mean?
The only thing I don't like about the 3 games
with that one game, though,
is the time. Like, I'm at work, so I can't literally watch some of the games, and that's the only thing that I do not like about it.
Can I tell you something about that? And I don't know if it's pushback or not. I actually loved it. I love the 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Like, I love the fact that they had 4 games and it just ran all day. Now and again,
but you work from home, Cheats. That's different. She has a job.
I'm teaching, and my afternoon classes demand a little bit more out of me.
For the record,
it's great.
I do not work from home. I'm just in the middle of a government shutdown.
Yes. They sent them home.
For the record.
They sent them home.
For the record.
Go home.
It gave me a feel that was just like, for lack of a better term, it gave me a feel where I was like, this is like a football day where I can, like, from noon, like a college football day, from noon to 10 p.m. If I'm sitting in front of the TV watching games, and they're just all high intensity games, right? Like, they're all just like, I just love that aspect. I love the 3 games. I do love the fact that they were staggered all throughout the day. I don't know, Malik, what do you say? 1 or 3? What do you like?
I like 3 because, when you're playing a video game and you're getting beat, like Mortal Kombat, and you're on your last life, and you just pull out a good, 3, 4, 5 button combo. That's how it feels when you're watching a 3-game series. He's like, we got one more. Or it just gives you that heart-wrenching feeling like, hey, if we really mess up this game tomorrow, if we lose game 1, we have another chance to make it right with the second game. So I think that the 3 games adds more drama, more intensity, of course, more money to MLB's pocket, of course, and more time for us to watch baseball. More baseball is better. I mean, like,
more baseball.
One game? Come on.
More baseball is better.
Yeah, heartbreaking. You have teams that have had storybook seasons and lose it in 1 game. Come on, we need more than that. So I like the 3-game series.
All right, I'm with all of you on this. Let's look ahead. Do we think anybody can dig out? Do we think Do we think the Yankees can dig out? Do we think the Phillies can dig out again? These are best out of 5 series. There's only one game left. And then also tell me who you like in the Brewers and the Cubs and the Mariners and the Tigers. I will start with you, my friend April.
Okay, who do I think is going to be able to dig themselves out of anything?
Oh no, or do you think they'll be able to dig out? Is the question.
They're going to New York. I think they might be able to win one game in New York at least, but I'm not gonna lie to y'all. It's not looking too good. But I'm gonna stick with the fact that yes, New York is going to win a game there. As far as the Phillies, I think that the Phillies needed to win today in order to be able to have a chance to be able to dig themselves out. Because now you're facing Yamamoto on the mound.
Yep.
And that's going to be very challenging in Dodger Stadium. So yeah. Now, as far as the Tigers and Mariners, that's just a toss up. I have nothing there but my eyes. I'm just excited to be able to see it.
And we just talked about breakout stars Jackson Chourio 3-run home run. The Brewers are now up in the 4th, 7-3, so they might go up 2-0. Looking ahead, Malik, what do you see?
Yeah, so I definitely do think that out of the teams that can dig themselves out, may be the Phillies, and that's really not on the Phillies just having just an amazing offense throughout the season, not really showing up in this postseason, but it's really based on the Dodgers bullpen woes. So we already saw it in the game tonight, in which Blake Trinan kind of imploded a little bit. And so I think that all the teams that can dig themselves out, maybe the Phillies in LA, just with that volatile bullpen that the Dodgers are running out there. And I'm really going to be keeping my eyes, like April said, on the Seattle series, because I think this might be the most evenly matched that we have on the docket, given that Detroit has shown us that their offense is capable of going on some really good runs when AJ Hinch is really pressing those buttons. I think AJ Hinch is kind of like a DJ back there, just pressing buttons, turning knobs, and putting down records. You know, he's like, no, I'm changing this. I'm doing B-sides now. So, you know, So I think we're going to keep our eyes on that series. And I'm excited to see if the Blue Jays get past the Yankees in New York. That will be a pretty crazy sight to see if they're celebrating in New York.
Right.
Get ready, New York fans. It's going to be a wild series.
Biggest L since Fat Joe, man. Damn. DJ Lobito out. With everyone here, the Detroit Seattle series is going to be the most evenly matched. I have Seattle advancing, but I do think it's more like Detroit is kind of like stumbling into the playoffs. And I don't know. If it was the best of 7 series, I would have a lot more confidence in the Phillies. I just think you take that trip out to Los Angeles and try to sweep the Dodgers in Los Angeles. It's possible. Teams have done it. There was a time in the summer where everyone was doing it. I don't think it happens in the postseason there too. And yeah, I had a feeling the Blue Jays were going to beat the Yankees, but not like this. It would be great if it was 3 lopsided victories in a row, just for my own personal benefit, because that would make me laugh. But I don't think anyone else comes over or recovers.
Yeah, I do not see right now, and I don't see how this is going to change. I don't see a path where the Yankees or the Phillies dig themselves out. I think it has partial to do with the Dodgers and the Blue Jays are both playing really well. Dodgers get to go home. They get to, they get Yamamoto on the mound as well. It is going to be really, really tough, I think, for Philadelphia to win 2 games in LA with this particular Dodger team, the way that they're actually playing and hitting on all cylinders. I think, for whatever reason, I think playing in Toronto is extremely tough. I don't think playing in Yankee Stadium for the Blue Jays is going to be as tough. I just think that they're just playing incredibly well. But I think guys like Vladdy, they play well at Yankee Stadium. George Springer will play well at Yankee Stadium. I just think these guys will play well at Yankee Stadium as well. So I think it's going to be tough. I don't foresee the Yankees or the Phillies, who are both my World Series picks, by the way. So I know a lot of folks are already calling me the jinx on this situation, and I probably am. I'm just letting you know. Could be me. But I don't see them digging out. I don't see if this holds. There's again the 7-3 lead at the end of the fourth. If this holds for the Brewers, they go to Chicago. Again, the Brewers are just playing extremely well. I don't see Chicago digging out of that either. I do like Seattle's lineup against the Tiger pitching. I just like it better. And if Scooble's not going to pitch anymore, if he pitched game 2, he's not going to pitch anymore in the 5 games. I lean Seattle to win. Even going to Detroit. I think they're a really, really good baseball team in that way. So I don't know. Again, we don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, Detroit, Seattle. If the Brewers hold, and that's 3-2-0 series. So I mean, obviously, Detroit, Seattle will be the most competitive. But Detroit took, they needed 11 innings to beat Seattle the first time.
Right.
Seattle comes through and beats their ace. I just think that it lines up for Seattle to be successful as they move forward. But we'll see. We'll see. I cannot wait. I'm really excited. And then if we're looking ahead, and we won't make predictions because we're gonna run out of time here. But if we're looking ahead, and you're looking at the Blue Jays and possibly the Mariners, and obviously you're looking at the Dodgers, Brewers, those are going to be some really, really good games. And I love this part of it because, Flobo, you know where I'm going to go with this. This sets up the potential for, MLB HQ to have a really, really exciting World Series, or I'm talking about fan-wise and revenue-wise and advertising-wise, or if they end up with like Milwaukee, Detroit, they're just gonna lose their minds.
But what about Milwaukee?
There's no way that if they look, I think MLB HQ will be ecstatic if the Seattle Mariners get to the World Series.
I agree.
Before. Seattle's a great town. Story. They've got a great fan base. You know what I mean? Like, I think that story is a good enough one that keeps them there. But I'm telling you now, if the Brewers come out of the National League and Los Angeles and Philly and Chicago don't, MLB HQ is going to be they're going to be dying.
They got the Bob Uecker story. That's fine. That's something.
That's not going to do it. I don't think
everyone loves that movie. Hey, it's not the worst thing in the world. It ain't the Diamondbacks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And they also got the Bernie Mac movie too.
Would Detroit, Milwaukee be
Mr.
like
3000
worst case scenario for MLB?
It's a worst case scenario for me. I don't want to see that.
I want to see that.
As a World Series?
For fandom?
I'll see it.
Fandom, would that be worst case scenario?
Yeah, I would say so. Because Detroit has that grit about it, but it seems very insular. Like, you have to be part of the Detroit club to be a part of it. You know what I mean? Right. You can't be like, I watch the Phillies. I'm a Phillies fan. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Maybe you're different with Malik, but I couldn't watch that.
We got to watch some. It's time to just see some real good teams make the playoffs. We need to get rid of this invisible hand that just puts one of these major cities in these big moments. We just need maybe another year of the Rangers, Diamondbacks, we need more years of this to balance it out.
We do not need more of that.
Last year we had the Dodgers versus the Yankees, and it was kind of flat. Let's be real.
It was phenomenal.
We had a lot of errors. It was a show.
Nationals Athletics, you will probably pull your hair out.
Yeah, I don't see that.
I'm watching that, baby. I'm watching that Athletics. They can hit.
I mean, there's a part of me that leans to marketable stars and star power, right? So I'm loving Yankees Dodgers because of all the storylines, the 3 MVPs in the Dodgers lineup, Aaron Judge, and all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. It's a tough sell. Like Flobo just mentioned it. What are you going to sell in Milwaukee? Milwaukee's a really good baseball team. You're going to sell good baseball, but are you going to sell Bob Uecker? Like what? Like Churio is not like. Miz Mizorowski's coming out of the bullpen. Churio is like not a household name, right?
He's the breakout, though. He's the breakout. So maybe he can be.
I don't know if that's gonna do it. Scooble's a good name over in Detroit, so I don't know.
Yeah,
But
that's
again,
that
it's not Vlad Jr. It's not like, you know. All right, guys, this has been amazing.
Mhm.
Thank you for another wonderful, wonderful live Monday night. Thanks for bearing with us as we kind of sweated out the end of that Phillies Dodgers game and made that happen as well. I want to thank our partners one more time, the Players Alliance, Numbers Game Scorecards. Please make sure you visit Number Game Scorecards. Use the promo code Black Baseball Mixtape, Rebellion Harvest Sunflower Seeds. Do the same thing. Minority prospects are now just all over the country. Make sure you check out their website. If you've got a young player that needs to get more exposure, please enter their database, be a part of that. A special shout out to all the wonderful people over at Fear of God for their special gift to the mixtape. That's fantastic. Flobo, you mentioned it at the top of the program. I want you to mention it at the bottom. What is happening in the booth?
Oh yeah, in the booth, new episode dropped today. Hanging out with Fan First Toronto content creator Carissa Hines, who's a big Toronto Blue Jays fan. We talked about what it means to be a fan up north, and like I said at the top of the show, I had this little kind of a quirk. I never get any major league caps outside of the Mets organization. Mine are different. I said that I'll get the Strong Bird, I'll get the Toronto Blue Jays bird. I'm wearing it now. So check out that show just to see where that came from. And it's support all the channels, Tended and Talk, Butterman Baseball, everything, baby.
I don't have that problem, Flobo. I have a lot of hats.
I can't do it. The Major League, I can't do it. I'm gonna be walking around with a Cubs hat. Why?
I've got tons of hats.
I'll do minor leagues.
All about April. What's happening in 10th inning?
So I'm going to be having a new episode coming up soon in regards to the postseason baseball. But make sure you check out my episode with Natola Hawthorne. And because some of the things that we discussed in there are very applicable to what you're watching in the postseason. And of course, make sure you're catching me on Threads. They actually have our bracket points.
Yeah, how are your brackets doing? How are your MLB official MLB Threads bracket is up? How is it doing?
I got 20 points. Okay. I had 2 teams make it out of the first round. One of my girls, she had like all 4 of her teams make it, and she said that was probably the end of hers. But yes, make sure you're following me on Threads. I'm giving updates all the time on Major League Baseball. And of course, make sure you're following me on TikTok and YouTube because I'm doing a lot of polls and you get to participate in those particular polls for all of the division series, the NLCS, ALCS, and then of course the World Series. So it's popping over there, y'all.
Fantastic. Butterman Baseball, what do you got going on, my man?
Yeah, we're staying tapped into the postseason because honestly, not having a team in it makes it it's a weird feeling. But we're going to try to stay focused, going to try to stay updated and bring to you some of the best stats we can bring as we kind of keep our eyes on each game through this postseason.
Awesome. And as always, you can finish your breakfast with me every morning on the Black Baseball Mixtape. Obviously, subscribe to the podcast, like, rate, and review. Really appreciate that. And every once in a while, go ahead and jump over to the blackbaseballmixtape.com. You can see the new stories and information on there as well. So want to thank all of you for sticking with us tonight. It's been a lot of fun, and we will